how did you lose $1 million in 7 minutes?
We're going there straight away. Basically, about 7 minutes, 11:53, the police had just had enough and they come in and they just shut the whole thing down.
Thomas Lynch, Vice President of Informa, investor of multiple businesses, host of world-class events, owner of multiple bars and nightclubs around the world.
You're working way beyond 60, 70, 80 hours a week. How are you able to balance that day job and also building a nightclub business and events company?
It's a good question. To be honest,
What are the kind of things that you do to really stay driven?
the main thing that drives me is where I come from. Not many people know this, but I'm happy to be open. My first day of the MBA, I remember a friend of mine, he said, "Do you own a PlayStation?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Get rid of it." He said, "You'll never ever be a successful entrepreneur if you're playing games all the time." I had never touched a computer game ever since. These really highly successful business guys like Warren Buffett, they always say, "Give me somebody that's had failure 10 times over and I'll work with them tomorrow." I'm not interested to work with anyone who hasn't experienced failure. And I never truly understood that until chase success relative to yourself. Are you better today than you were yesterday? Have you achieved your goals relative to your environment and the opportunities that you have? Then money's this real byproduct of success.
Quickly before the episode starts, we've noticed that 83% of you are not yet subscribed. If you find this podcast interesting and would like to support us, please subscribe and we'll make sure to deliver the best guests and best content possible. Thank you very much. Enjoy the episode. Tell me, how did you lose $1 million in 7 minutes?
Okay, so we're going there straight away. Okay, it's a great place to start. We had what I term really as a mini festival. We'd been doing events with a company called Friends of Shanghai, FoS, for about three and a half years by this point. We've been around for about 5 years now. And we decided to, and it was a calculated decision during very difficult times during COVID, but we'd managed to get the green light to throw a festival which we could host up to 2,500 people in Shanghai, which was almost unheard of. But we went a little bit outside of the center, and we went to the government there, and they approved, and the police approved, and everything was good. We planned it 6 months in advance, and we got an overwhelming response from the Shanghai community. It was great. So we set this festival up. We had multiple stores, multiple stages. We brought in some rap stars. So Rap in China is quite a big brand and a big thing here. So we brought in 2 major rap stars, and then we probably had about 20 DJs across about 6-7 stages, a night market. We were sponsored by Asahi at the time, which was great. And also we had like Tesla and other major brands partaking. So the show went on. We oversold tickets, so that was the first problem. We had people queuing outside a place called Galleria, but we managed to get everybody in, which was great. But the main stage where the Rap in China stars were could only fit 500 to 600 people. But we estimated that people would go to the different other stages. We miscalculated that probably 90% of the people there were there for the main stars. And it made me think back to, I've been to many festivals all around the world, and it made me think back to every single festival I'd ever been to had a big stage for the big act, whether it's David Guetta or Madonna or Beyonce or whoever. And it didn't matter if it was 200,000-300,000 people, you would still be able to kind of see in the far distance that star, that mega star, via screen, so you could experience it a bit closer. And we just never had that set up. So people were queuing one in, one out, and the arena was packed with the 600 people, 500 to 600 people, and then we had a massive long queue tail waiting to get in. And what started to happen, and I totally understand, the people then started to call the cops and say, "Hey, I bought tickets and I can't get in to see this act." And the closer it got to midnight, the more calls to the police. And basically about 7 minutes, 11:53, the police had just had enough, and they come in, totally understandable, and they just shut the whole thing down. And if we'd have just put some screens outside, genuinely, if we'd have just put 2 big screens outside, showing the acts, there was all night market, everything. There was police presence the whole night. We had everything catered for. But in China, it's very good because if the consumer complains, the authorities tend to do something about it, and we were in the wrong by not giving them that full experience. But had we have done that, instead of losing $1 million, we would have made $1 million.
Right.
That was pretty much the story. And, the ramifications, the after effects, the ripple effect from that is you have to spend the next 3 months refunding tickets, apologizing, explaining. You've got to visit the authorities, many different departments, to explain exactly what happened and how it happened. And there was no criminal, there was no scam. It was just a total miscalculation of where the traffic flows would go. So anything I do in the future, I would think back to all of those festivals I went to where the major act, you can experience that in one form or another. But it cost us dearly. It cost us sponsors. It cost us, some staff. It was very stressful for all of us. There was a lot of online, social media, and we still host the FoS brand, and we will grow that again. And we've probably had another 100 parties since then, and given back to our community. But that was definitely one for the storybooks.
And has that made you stronger as a businessman? Because most people would have quit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was tempting. It was tempting to throw in the towel and just say, hey, we had a good run. We nearly made it. 2 months before, we had a Halloween event with 1,500 people. Super successful, went extremely well. No problems at all. Just this one miscalculation. And as beaten up as we were, I always think that the true success of an entrepreneur is that persistence and that belief that you are doing the right thing. You do get knockbacks. They happen all the time in business. And it is that ability, like Rocky said in one of his latest movies, I think one of the Creeds, it's how you get up when you've been knocked down and get up time and time again. And that's what we will do. No doubt, 100%, we will continue to do that. Just kind of leaning out on that a little bit, but these really highly successful business guys like Warren Buffett, they always say, hey, give me somebody that's had failure 10 times over and I'll work with them tomorrow. I'm not interested to work with anyone who hasn't experienced failure. And I never truly understood that until I've been through that now multiple times. And now I get the wind of that, and I can totally appreciate where those guys are coming from and respect that.
And now to our first sponsor of the podcast. Globlue Enterprise Services is a one-stop solutions provider for foreign investors, offering expertise in company registration, accounting and tax services, human resources, and visa assistance. You may remember a few episodes ago we had Julie Long on the podcast, and this is her company. With a proven track record of helping hundreds of foreign-owned enterprises and facilitating successful expansions into international markets such as mainland China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, and beyond. They are the one agency to partner with to set up and grow your business. Go to globlue.cn. Use the discount code PANDA when signing with them for a 10% discount today. That's PANDA when signing with Globlue. Now, back to the podcast. Yeah, I don't see it as all bad. I see it as you've built, you've gone into other businesses, you pivoted into other businesses, you built now this bar, which you've then created another community on top of that with a club. So you're creating that experience. Can you go into a little bit how you built those two businesses?
So what it was, we were doing events in Shanghai, Thailand, pre-COVID. We were planning to go to Bali, down to Sydney, and then spread across to Dubai. So we had these big plans, but obviously COVID hit. So we moved actually to Sanya with our events. And we were one of the first to move down to Sanya. We started doing Christmas parties, New Year's Eve events, yacht parties. It was a lot of fun. And basically, we ended up setting up a beach bar called Reef Bar in Sanya. It's still there today, still going. My partners are there right now. It's in Shanghai. It's fantastic. So we started basically organizing parties, and then that was the first venue. I did invest in a small bar called Curfew just before that, but that was the first venue where I was actively involved. And then Shanghai was it was hard to maneuver and move in and out of Shanghai. And I always had this concept around gin. And being from the UK, we love gin drinking. And I just felt maybe in Shanghai, there was some really wonderful gin bars already. But I wanted something with a bit more of a UK flavor. And so we created a gin and juice, which for many people in Shanghai and
Day for Shanghai.
yeah, it is. And unfortunately, we lost a bit of outdoor space in the area, the compound that we're in. So we're really looking now actively for a new location, but it needs to fit the full vibe. So that's why we're not rushing, and we're trying to find that kind of indoor, outdoor, kind of like high vibes, UK style experience and a home really for the community that you just mentioned. So we went into bars a little bit on the restaurant side, so we were growing in that. And then we'd have a lot of customer demand for where do we go after the bars? And you know, there's all these fabulous clubs in Shanghai, you know, across the different domains. So if you want to experience kind of high tempo, EDM, hip hop, there's definitely clubs for that. And for sure, these clubs make a lot of money. You know, they're really for the local market. And then there's some really cool international clubs as well. But I wanted to create a kind of more friendly style environment, a place where people can come, really let their hair down. Again, it's my UK experience that really followed this, and somewhere where you just feel safe. You can just enjoy, sing to the songs. We have a rooftop so you can relax. It's called Stardust, and it's in a very popular location called Globlue. And there's a lot of kind of foreigner expat style bars around this particular location. So that was it. That was our venture into nightclubs, and that's still ongoing. Lots of big events coming up, and that's where the kind of story went. So we had this FoS Events company. We started to do business services on the side of that, and then we had a media company. And then the second layer was then actually to give people more of a permanent home in terms of restaurants and bars. And then that kind of evolved into this kind of nightclub scenario where we're currently at today, which I must admit takes up a lot of time for my team. I fortuitously do not get too involved because I have my day job. But I know for the team, I'm really acting as an investor. But for my team, they're working tirelessly 24/7, just continuously trying to drive a really like top high-end entertainment venue for the consumers.
That's an interesting point. Your team working the butts off to make this a success. You yourself, you're working way beyond 60, 70, 80 hours a week. How are you able to balance that day job and also building a nightclub business and events company?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. To be honest, I love my day job. I've been doing communications and intelligence now for 25 years. I'm really fit for purpose for the role that I'm in. I'm an expert globally in my area, probably one of a kind for the types of coverage that I have, because I had 10 years military experience before going into this role. And I have a passion for technology. And right now it's the best time for technology because technology continuously evolves at a rapid pace, way beyond what we'd seen before. You know, we see all of the news around AI, all of these cloud capability and all of this ability now to do such different things. And that we're only tip of the iceberg of what's coming actually. So, and I'm at the forefront of that with my day job. I probably spend, you rightly said, about 60 hours a week on my day job alone. People would be very surprised, but I work probably Monday to Friday, at least till about 1 a.m., 2 a.m., maybe Friday a little bit less. But I really put the shift in. And my team and my company were very successful. So it's that part is because I love my job and I have a passion for that. So that's easy, actually. When you're passionate about something, I don't consider it a job. I consider it as somewhere where I go and enjoy and have fabulous colleagues and work with those guys. And then the nightlife was because I wanted to invest in controllable assets and things that I could actually be a small part of. Okay, I don't have that much time to dedicate, but at least be able to strategically guide those businesses. So every time I've set up a businesses, I've got 7 now in China in 5 years. I've basically employed a leadership team and basically employed a management team, and then those guys are really the face of the business, and those guys are the guys that are really driving the success that we've had so far. We've employed about 150 people across the different businesses in the time I've been here, and I'm grateful for every single one of those people. They've allowed me to be able to continuously focus on my career, but at the same time act as an investor and a strategic advisor. I'd say that's more my position to these businesses. And, you know, at the odd weekend, I'd certainly get involved and enjoy the lifestyle. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do both. You know, I'm sure people in my position, you know, they finish work but you know, people have families, people have hobbies, people have other things that they do. It's just that my hobby happens to be investing, wanting to be a successful entrepreneur. And I just enjoy being around people. And I thought, how better to be around people than to create events and nightlife and media, which really is all about the people and the consumer.
I really admire your work ethic, because I think that's something that a lot of people don't get, is you have to work bloody hard for this to work, and you have to put in the hours. And having that balance is really, really key. We discussed this before the podcast, you know, cutting out the vices, so it could be video games,
absolutely,
all these kind of things. So what are the kind of things that you do to really stay driven?
The main thing that drives me is really where I come from. Not many people know this, but I'm happy to be open. But I come from foster homes and children's homes, a very difficult socio-economic background. And I joined the military at a very young age, around 16, because I was working about 70 hours a week then. I left school at 15. I was working 70 hours a week in 3 jobs at 16. And I realized that if I go to the careers office and sign up with the military, I can earn double what I was earning. And so, yeah, I that was the basis of my decision. I was never gun-ho. I picked the course in the military, which was communications, which had the longest training, so I could start to build some education. And that was already driving me. You know, the ability to make and create more money and wealth was in me since a young kid. And even with the difficult background that I had, I would be out there at 8 years old, washing people's cars, mowing people's lawns, running errands, anything, even to make, 20 pence in the UK at the time, or 50p.
Yeah.
I would gratefully accept that. So why I mention that is because I still have that same drive today as I did as a 7-year-old. And that's the God's honest truth. And, whatever I've done, whatever I've endeavored to do, I've really put my maximum ability into the thing that I'm most passionate about at that time. And, at the military, I was top of my military class. Never had experience in any military domain before. Most of the people from the military actually come from military families. So I didn't know how to shine my boots. I didn't know what a ship was, what an aircraft was. I played with some toys that looked like tanks when I was a kid. But I had to learn very quickly, and quickly I did learn. And then, at some point I decided, actually, I wanted to really go into business. I would have always had a passion for business, always watched the business films with admiration. And, I just decided, I made a decision one day. I said, hey, I'm going to go and do an MBA. And I had to educate myself to MBA level and then leave the military. So I had to decide about 4 years before leaving the military. So this is why I did 10 years, that this was the path. So I set the path 4 years before, and then eventually ended up there. Got top of my MBA class, which was really great. Again, surprised myself massively. You mentioned about some of the vices. My first day of the MBA, I remember a friend of mine called Scott Lansley. He said, hey, do you own a PlayStation? I said, yes. He said, get rid of it. He said, you'll never, ever be a successful entrepreneur if you're playing games all the time. I had never touched a computer game ever since. I spend my spare time watching podcasts about business and or I'm involved in one of my businesses in one form or another. So that drive comes from my history. And I'm not a victim of my history, not by a long shot. I'm the absolute opposite. I really am grateful for that, and I really use it to spur me on and continuously drive me forward. So work ethic comes naturally to me. I'm very happy to work hard. I'd rather probably be working than doing other things.
And actually, the nature of your business, you have to be kind. You have to be bringing people together and building that community, right? So I think it's quite key.
Yeah, I mean, like, how can I put it? I'm an empathetic leader. So that's what people would call me, whether it's in my day job or my investment. And the fact that I'm able to give people valuable jobs in China, and for some of my foreigner, expat colleagues, co-workers, I always consider everyone a co-worker, whatever level. For those guys, that I can give them visa and allow them to remain in China and have a livelihood, that's really important for me, actually. And I consider, my co-workers, my friends as well. And I prefer that style. Not everybody does. And I hope one day I'll be able to make a real success and be able to write a long article on LinkedIn. This is my plan, to say, guys, you don't have to be, this type of boss. You can actually be a friend to your staff and do it in a different way. And that can bolster engagement more than some of the other former methods that we've seen.
Why do you think that is? Because in the military, you would have been shouted at all day long.
Exactly.
And then you could have been this disciplinarian that is very stern.
I was so lucky in the military that I had a bit of a brain, and we went into intelligence. We got left alone. We got put in a dark room and we just did our thing. But the rest of the military, you're right, is very kind of jump and you jump. I'm the type of guy, if you ask me to jump, I'll say, why? What's the value proposition? What's the benefit? Does it benefit you? Does it benefit me? Well, otherwise I'm not jumping. So, over time, I realized perhaps I just didn't fit that kind of military psyche, so to speak. And I was always a bit different. I always come up on these scales when you do these Balkan tests or whatever test it is. I always come up in the social scale, like mega high. And I don't mind that, I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah.
I have a relatively decent EQ because I am empathetic and I do care about people genuinely. And I think that helps. But, it does have its pitfalls. So I have to say, in China, and this is definitely one of my pitfalls I'm trying to work on it, I've never been, I've always wanted to work hard and make money, but money hasn't been my ultimate goal. Success has been my ultimate goal. And it continues to be so. And anybody who chases money will soon one day realize that they'll never truly be happy, because there'll always be somebody with more money than them. There'll always be more money out there. And I always think money, really, if you chase success, and this is really important, chase success relative to yourself. So, are you better today than you were yesterday? Have you achieved your goals relative to your environment and the opportunities that you have at that moment? That's a question. And then money's this real byproduct of success. And that, I feel, is a better way. And then you can set, goals. You can make steps to achieve those goals, and then you can feel really passionate about achieving those goals step by step. And that will also help drive you through as well.
How do you balance that with China, this idea? And we discussed this as well beforehand, that it is money up front, get the money quick. And then, so how are you able to balance this?
Unfortunately,
$1 million question.
Basically, it's a hard, and this has been one of my really big lessons. One is to be less competitive. I am competitive by nature in the things I'm passionate about. There are some positives to that, but there's also a lot of negatives, and I'm reflecting on that personally. And so, that's one thing. And that's why I say success is a byproduct to yourself. But the other area, I think, in China is there is a bit of the money really matters, and quick money matters. And me as a businessman, I've always been for the longer term. I've always, like, for example, FoS was really about building a brand rather than maybe trying to capitalize and monetize at the very beginning. And I probably had that thought process throughout my entrepreneurial career so far. And 5-6 years into that, I've started to realize that actually, no, if I'd have focused on money a bit more, then actually the people that I do care about, these co-workers, I could give them more and I could make their lives better, and we could be more sustainable, more scalable, more successful. And so now I do start to think a little bit different and say, right, okay, are we making money? Not because I'm chasing the money, because I'm not, but because the business would benefit and the people in the business would benefit. So that's something that I'm slowly working on. And I think that's, I certainly would feel in the UK, and it's really my only other business experiences, but you can build for a little bit of a longer term. Certainly in China, in this kind of fast-moving entertainment world that I'm in, that's a little bit different. But I do see it across other business domains as well. So you have to kind of capture that business success as early as possible to be able to sustain business, because unfortunately, otherwise the money dries up.
So what is the future of the business?
I mean, for me, personally, I'm fixated on my career. I love my job and my career. I'm back to work for about 10 hours after this podcast today, and I've got so many things to do, and I'm excited for that. And that's definitely where I want to be for the next 10, 20 years inside my career. I love it. In terms of my investment projects, I call them investment projects because I'm just not able to be part in the day-to-day operations. But as strategic advisor and as a kind of leader, as a co-worker, I want us to grow a successful brand that scales beyond nightlife, that scales beyond Shanghai, something that can be franchised over time, and something that really brings that kind of emotional connection to the things that we're trying to achieve. I'm not sure I found that magic pill as such yet. We were very close. We were 7 minutes away on the events. The media were doing well. We were scaling so fast, but I lost my editor, unfortunately, so that was hard to replace. And then, in the bars and the clubs and, the fixed venues, there's definitely a lot of lessons that whatever happens, I can take, reflect, and then think about how we do it again and do it better. So yeah, ultimately, in the end, it's about giving the best experience, the most friendly environment, and then scaling a business brand that other people can benefit from. Actually, I'd love my team to be able to benefit, to be able to go off and, I hear about successful entrepreneurs whose team have then moved off and formed their own businesses, and they're very successful, maybe created something similar in Bali or Thailand, and that would be of great joy for me, actually. That would be, when I say about relative success, that's the type of success that I'm chasing for.
So it would be a franchise model that is scalable in other countries, not purely just
exactly
Shanghai.
100%,
okay.
Yes.
And also, it sounds like a stepping stone, almost lifestyle company, because you got the bar, you got the club. I guess that could move on from there, right?
Yeah. Well, if the events had been, if we'd have made that $1 million instead, the plan was to invest in a gym, and then we were going to offer free gym membership as part of the FoS membership. And then we'd have been able to make some more deals. We'd have had more sponsors. We had a real clear plan, but with that, it really kicked us. And we're back to the drawing board a little bit, and it takes time. But yeah, you are right. Ultimately, the goal was to become a lifestyle brand.
Could you kickstart that party again, that event? Because I'll come along. I will come along. I'll bring a few hundred people. Well, I know we're going to...
Yeah, sure. No, it will. We will. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. I'm 100% sure that we will. We will get to that level and way beyond. A bit tied up at the moment, but I already have kind of plans in place, and it's a case of just setting up the right team now and focusing on the current market. The market has changed in the last 5 years, and I need to adapt everything that we're doing to those changes, and my team's working tirelessly to relaunch, basically.
Where can people get in touch with you and find out more about your events?
Come to Stardust.
Yeah.
Come to my bar, Original Sin. We've got a really cool concept bar. We have Victoria's Secret playing in the background, a bit of rock and roll. So it's a bit like a small bar in Hong Kong, if you've been there and experienced that kind of concept-y style of thing. So it's called Original Sin. That's on the front. There's really great bars around us, actually, that you can enjoy. There's a really cool gym bar, a really fun pub called Drinkery, Botanical, and Drinking it's called. And it's a great little street of bars. And then there's some fabulous nightclubs around the area. But yeah, definitely you'll find me in Stardust on the odd weekend. So come and say hello. If you think of any business that we might be connected with, that you need a trustworthy, loyal friend in business, I'm very interested in anything technology, anything that brings together people. I'd say those are the two areas that I'm focused.
Yeah, I'll come this weekend. I'm looking.
Okay, well, we have
Yeah.
we have a Cowboys night, so
And
you got to dress with a Cowboys hat.
thank you so much, Thomas.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck for the Panda Profits podcast.
Thank you. I mean, you've been a great supporter of the pod, and I know you've actually watched the episode, so I appreciate. And let's have a round 2. Let's do maybe sometime next year.
Okay, give me 12 months and we'll do a round 2. We'll see where we're at, right?
That's good. Yeah. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Like, subscribe, and see you next time, guys.